You're listening to The Change Show with Simon Phillips and my very special guest, Jennie Kitching. So I used to work with the UK government. We were helping organisations input work-life balance initiatives and flexible working opportunities back in the early 2000s. And recently I recognised that this notion of balance really came back into fashion, if you like, with the lockdowns and people suddenly experiencing a very different lifestyle and starting to question everything that was going on in their lives. What changes have you noticed in terms of the requests of your clients? Is this becoming something, have you seen something similar or have you seen something completely different?
Well, this might surprise you. Before lockdown, I have clients in Canada, particularly, some in Australia. And of course, I have to do my thing through this wonderful technology. However, with lockdown, of course, that became more of a thing. Even people down the road needed to do this, this way of working. And the General Hypnotherapy Standards Council will only kind of allow people that are very skilled, the senior practitioners who have been schooled in the pitfalls of communicating in this way to do it. And so my thing is, there are a lot of hypnotherapists out there, but there is no real regulation. Okay. And so I want everyone that's already trained to be an advanced practitioner so that they know, for example, how to communicate through these devices. So I was already kind of on my high horse about this, wanting more communication, to see more people, to see groups of people and across the world, which is why we need these things. We need this technology and we need to love it, and we need to recognize that sometimes it doesn't work properly, and we need to understand its little nuances, etc. Then lockdown came. So we have more and more people needing help and not being able to be with me physically. Mm. So I found myself training other therapists how to engage and how to get communication from the unconscious mind through a TV screen, basically. But the biggest thing I got from my corporate clients, all the presentation anxiety that I used to do for people in person became very different. Because, of course, when you're doing these things, you're not just engaged and seeing the people that you're speaking to, you're seeing a picture of yourself. And so the first thing that happened, honestly, people don't look in the mirror enough. People don't know how they are coming across. And this hopefully will make people laugh a little bit. A beautiful woman that maybe uses a lot of makeup that exaggerates the features. It's wonderful when we're in a perfect pose, when we're looking in the mirror. Oh, there the eyebrows. Oh, yes, yes. Oh, got that perfect pose when you're looking in the mirror. But when you're got a disgust face on, or when you're angry, all the features are exaggerated. And so my corporate clients were starting to realize that how they were coming across on these Zoom platforms and Skype, etc., and StreamYard, and they didn't like it. So people who'd never had presentation anxiety before suddenly had it, not because they didn't know how to communicate through these devices, but because they were suddenly presented with their own face. Sometimes that face was contorted in emotional states that they'd never seen before. You don't hold an emotional state and then let's look in the mirror, see what I look like, you know? And so this whole idea of being able to accept oneself and not to then edit how we behave. I want to look beautiful all the time, so I'm not going to use any emotion, you know? And all the Botox and stuff that goes on. We need to understand at an unconscious level how somebody is feeling, how they're receiving our information by those movements in the forehead, by some tension in the jaw. by what goes on here, which is widely ignored. And we know this unconsciously, Simon. We all do. We know, oh, that didn't go down well. You know, you're doing a big negotiation, a big deal or something through this technology. You know, oh goodness. And when you know that, what do? Do you change tactic? Do you employ something to try and make that person feel more relaxed so they'll tell you what their resistances are so that we can make that deal? I seem to sense right now that you're not exactly comfortable with what I just said. Could I ask you a little bit more about what might be going on with you at the moment? You know, knowing how to phrase something to get the reaction that we want. We all want to communicate well with each other. We don't often know how to do it. And our workload, if you like, certainly changed to presentation anxiety in this technological environment more so than ever before.
We love it's something that we have a laugh about in my teams, is the way that whenever the screen freezes, you're always caught mid squint, mid contortion. But then we also have a little competition as well. So if somebody gets caught and it's a really cool pose, then you know they get a prize. But it does have a habit of catching us out, doesn't it?
Oh yes, oh yes. And I think knowing that we can accept ourselves. I mean, I know it's a big spiritual thing. Accept yourself, but knowing that we actually can accept ourselves, warts and all, and still do all that we can. Use everything that we've got to communicate effectively. And you know, beauty is in the eye of the beholder anyway. You know, so whatever, however we're being received, and whatever. Resistances they've got, whatever comes across to the receiver of the information needs to be handled too. And if we're going to be judged and we're going to judge others solely on appearance, then we are in a sorry state, aren't we? You know?
Definitely. Crikey, we could go on all day. It's just fascinating.
I often do.
We're going to pause now and have another break, and then I'll come back and I'm going to get a little bit more personal, Jennie. We're going to find out a little bit more about you. Welcome back to the third and final part of this show with Jennie Kitching, my guest, who's a hypnotherapist. She works with individuals, she works with teams, she works with people across the whole of the organization. And we were just talking about the fact that because the content that Jennie's working with is universal, it means you can get people together at different levels in the organization and everybody will benefit. Nobody feels awkward, nobody feels like they should know things or don't know things, and everybody can just tune in and get some real benefit out of this. And I just think the work you're doing is amazing, Jennie, because so many people need what you're doing right now. So perfect timing to have you in on the Change Show. Jennie, this part of the show is all about you. So can you think of a particular time in your life when you were experiencing a lot of change? And the reason for asking is I'd like to know how you got through it, because some of the people listening right now will be going through some difficult changes, and hearing some ideas, some thoughts, and some real experience of how people get through change, I think can make a massive difference. So is there a story, a time in your life when you were going through a significant change?
Oh, Simon, you've asked me now. There have been several, and one particularly, the actual change of stopping. I was on track to be a lawyer, because the back door into becoming a lawyer, a solicitor, is to be a legal executive, 4 years in the profession. Anybody that passes there, become a fellow of the Institute of Legal Executives. Anybody that passes their Law Society finals can kind of come in as a solicitor. So then I go on this course. I become a corporate trainer, still doing my legal studies. I go on this course. I'm so blown away by what you can do with the mind that I open up the hypnotherapy practice and I start Rethink Consultants Limited. I start a corporate company bringing in relaxation, stress busting, etc. and I see my one-to-one clients in my hypnotherapy practice. At that point, everybody was divided. There were some people that said, "Yeah, go for it, Jennie." Yeah, woo. And other people that, "What on earth do you think you are doing with your life? You know, what about your pension? What about this?" And then, to be honest, everything fell apart. Everything fell apart in terms of my personal life, the support from family and loved ones, etc. But I was so focused, Simon, on this idea that we can revolutionize how we behave with each other, and
Mm.
that all the training that I've done for so long would be transformed if we can acknowledge our foibles and work with our inner selves, shall I say, but without being so woo woo, as people say. To me, it's all the same. It's all very scientific, cognitive bias, and not all of the scientific stuff. We get more of what we focus upon in life. We do. And to me, all the spiritual stuff, because I was a Louise Hay teacher in 1994, went on a teacher training course there as I was training to be a lawyer. I got those two dualities going on. I started to realize that actually we can very sensibly start to help ourselves on a much more inner level, more of a spiritual bent, if you like, without having to go and, excuse me, wear a kaftan and sandals, as one of my legal friends said to me. Are you going to start wearing sandals and a kaftan when you come to it? I realized that we could do that. And what I did when things got really, really bad, my business got very successful very quickly. And I was on this kind of conveyor belt of one person after another on a personal level, one-to-one therapies. I've got 4 or 5 people working for me. We're all in different rooms, seeing one person after another, weight control, stopping smoking. Careful what you wish for. When I see people want more clients, do you want more clients? No, thank you. Everything's fine. And then other people say, just put your prices up so you'll see less people, get more money. So that kind of recognition, it's a business as well as you're doing good for folks. That's a big factor. And I was doing the corporate courses as well. Got to a stage, and I have to admit to you that I said enough, and I went and sat on a beach in Greece. I thought I'll just go for a month. So I took my daughter, and we went to this place I'd hired in Rhodes, Greece, for a month. And I have a month out. I'm teaching everybody else how to relax. Now I need to do it. Got bored quite quickly, and so started writing books. 42 of them now on Amazon. I just poured everything into the books because I got to the stage of, particularly with the courses, Simon, that I'm saying exactly the same thing to different groups of people. And it works well because then you become very focused upon the response that you get, kind of living for that difference. I know what I'm going to say Tuesday at 10 o'clock. I would like to know how you respond to that and what I can do about it. But I realised I'm not going to live forever, and I want to put as much information as I can into these books so that something goes on beyond me, and that I'm leaving a good business to my daughter, etc., etc. So I went to Rhodes, and 1 month I came back occasionally doing the different training things, etc., in person. Though it ended up being about 4 years.
That sounds like an extreme example of that experiment you were doing with people when you said stand up when it's 1 minute. You were coming home after 1 month and 4 years later. So what was going through your head then?
Well, I still wanted to work. I'm one of these people that will always work. I'm very passionate about what I do. So I was writing the books, but then I started to host retreats. So instead of doing it kind of the whole spiritual way that some do, I've still got this bee in my bonnet that there's too much disparity between the corporate world and the spiritual retreat type things. I know, and if you don't all talk to each other, I know that the senior executives and senior partners at various firms I work at, that from time to time go on holiday, but they've gone to some intense kind of relaxation retreat thing in far-flung corners of the world to calm down, to regenerate, to get healing, etc. But they don't often talk about it when they come back. And so the retreats that I ran were teaching people hypnotherapy, whether they were going to do it for themselves or do it for others. So 3 weeks, and they would get their diploma at the end, and they would be with me 24/7. We'd share the same stuff in the fridge. We'd go to the same Greek restaurants, and the Greek people, they're so friendly. I learnt the line. Do you know
Mhm.
my best-selling book, out of all the mind stuff that I've put out there, all the diplomas with the hypnotherapy, etc., and all the advice I've given, my best-selling book is Speak Greek Badly. The next one is Speak More Greek Badly. Because I got annoyed that particularly English people didn't even try to speak any Greek when they were over there. So I did this little book, which is still my bestseller. But I began to invite people that I was connected with over to Rhodes to spend a few days or a couple of weeks or the 3 week big course, whether they could learn the Enneagram, learn micro expressions, they could learn some aspects of hypnotherapy, certainly relaxation, swim in the sea, was right opposite the beach, and just basically get back to basics.
Yeah.
Eat good food. You can't find a KFC or any fast food on the island. Have a more simplistic lifestyle just for a little while, and get that mind sorted. And they'd come out without any fears or phobias. They'd have stopped smoking. They're losing weight. We never like to say lose, by the way. It puts you into a bad mood. You would get fit, go up the mountain every morning, be with the goats. And so I found these were so successful. That's why I stayed there so long. It was nice for me to be in that environment. And it was nice for me to play host to groups of people to come there and to go through their stuff as well. And the reason why I came back, we had Grexit before you had Brexit. I got to a point myself, you're talking on a personal level, of realizing who I am, which I am a very British person. I'm a middle-aged, well, a bit further over than that, a middle-aged British lady with lots of information to impart. And I want to share that in England, and I want to be worldwide through this technology, yes, but acknowledge who I am, that I will never really fit that well into other environments, as wonderful as those environments are. And wherever you go, I find now you represent your country, you represent who you actually are at that fundamental level. And part of that authenticity, etc., is being back. I now moved into the street that I grew up in. This is where I am now. I'm back to my roots, but I'm still kind of engaged with people in Italy, particularly. We've got a big project going on in there, in Rhodes as well. We've still got stuff going on in there, and Canada. So I can sit here in my little place in the street where I grew up, and I can be worldwide and expand the mind of myself and everybody else who will stand still long enough.
And do you know what? I think there's a lot of real power, self-power, in knowing who you are and what it is you want out of life and what's important. And, we can chase the dollar, we can go after careers, we can try to be someone who we think we should be.
Yeah.
But then we come back to who we really are. And for you, that's the street you grew up in. And for me, it's the same whenever I go back to my hometown in Wales. It's indescribable. There's nothing specifically there that attracts me back other than friendships and relationships. But there's nothing about the area that is, absolutely compelling for me. I love it and I enjoy the environment, but there's nothing that says I have to be there. But it is the relationships and it is the people, and that's a big thing for me.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you, Jenny. That was really helpful. And I hope that people got some of the nuances in your story there, which is, do the research, do your own thinking around these things, explore, try some things. You can always explore your way out of a problem. A little bit of extra curiosity, an extra thought, an extra input from someone can make all the difference. And I think that there were some elements of your story, like your trip to Greece and exploring your creativity, that really made a big difference when you were at some of your lowest points there. So I'm hoping people picked up on that. Okay, a regular thing we always ask our guests is there a track that you can either associate with that time in your life, or is there something, a go-to track that you always come back to, always inspires you, always makes you feel great? Anything you can think of, Jenny?
I'm really ready for this question, because there are many songs. Well, there are many songs we're influenced by, but there is one song, and if this song has the power, which it did do, to help me, I know this song back to front, inside out, and I can play it in here. So yes, it's lovely to hear it on the outside, but I can play it here. I can play every instrument in the beginning of it. I can hear the voice, the gravelly voice of Chris Rea. I've got the whole atmosphere. In other words, as we do with hypnotherapy, it creates a state for me. And the state is so profound that I had an eye operation with it. The state is so profound that I've had my teeth drilled without anaesthetic, listening to it in my head. People don't know what's going on, but I'm playing Chris Rea, the original version of On the Beach.
Aha,
Do, do,
excellent.
do, 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 do. And the original one, the waves come in first. You hear the waves, he sets up the whole atmosphere at full orchestra, and then the voice comes in, and I'm there on the beach. There's all that water, there's all that sea of possibilities. I'm on the beach.
Brilliant. I can't wait to hear it now. Here we go then with Chris Rea, On the Beach. Ah, fabulous. Do you know what? Chris Rea is one of my favorites too. I just love his voice. And I love the fact that he wrote some great songs for other people as well, didn't he? And there's one I'm trying to remember, Elkie Brooks. Didn't he write a song for Elkie Brooks?
Fool if you think it's over. Yes, fool if you think it's over. I didn't know that, and when I found, I was blown away, because what a wonderful song.
Yeah.
And not many. I'm glad you know that, because not many people do.
Yeah, I had one of those upbringings where my mum was listening to music all the time, and I just sort of absorbed it. And Elkie Brooks was one of her favourites. So, and then I think I found out later that Chris Rea wrote it. So, yeah, fantastic. Jenny, you have been a delight. It's been so wonderful talking to you today. Thank you so much for coming on the Change Show and sharing your experience, your insights, your knowledge, and lots of little, as I said, little nuances in what you've said that I'm sure will help people. Before we go, have you got any last message anywhere that you want to point people so they can come and find out more? Anything at all? Well,
the website is jenniekitching.com, JENNIE, Kitching, KITCHING.com. I'm all over the internet. If you just Google Hypnowoman, particularly, there's loads of free stuff on my YouTube channel to help you sleep and to do all sorts of wonderful things for you. But please let me finish with a little reference to Chris Rea's song there, because it amazes me. Many of you probably know he was ill quite a while ago now with pancreatic cancer and different things. He's a very old man, he's very haggard now, but he's still very passionate about all the work that he's done, but he's become an inadvertent success story. If you were planning, and I think this is a good thing to end on, if you were planning strategically and logically to be the most successful you could possibly be at this thing that you do, you would probably, as a singer, as a guitarist, think, well, I'm going to get royalties from a song that represents the summer. Oh, on the beach. Yeah, I'll get royalties every time On the Beach is out. And I'll also get, of course, a Christmas song.
Yeah, but
That
Christmas.
would, yeah, driving home for Christmas. But he did this kind of accidentally. He's always been a very reluctant kind of rock star. And so let's all become accidentally as successful and positive and wealthy and compassionate as we possibly can be, just by being our authentic selves and sharing all the aspects we are with each other and helping everybody along the way. Wouldn't that be a wonderful world to live in?
That's the type of world I like to live in, Jennie. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent. Jennie, you've been a delight, as I said. Thank you for coming on the show. It's been great to talk to you today, and I look forward to getting you back again sometime soon. That would be great.
Thank you very much. I've really, really enjoyed it. Thank you very much for the opportunity. It's fabulous to talk to you, Simon. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks, Jennie. That was it. That was the Change Show with Simon Phillips. Come back again next week for more. And in the meantime, be safe and have a great week.